Type Podcast.
Here we go. Hello, hello. This is the Just My Type podcast. Welcome. We are delighted you're here talking about all things diabetes. And my name is Dobie Maxwell, representing Type 2. Joining me, the vivacious, the bubbly, the effervescent Sami Parker. Hi, Sami.
Hello, Dobie. I think I'm really starting to get used to your intro. It makes me...
You're all things Type 1. I'm just trying to flatter you because you are excellent. You are the rock of this show. I am the circus clown making fun and jokes.
No.
But together we are a team, and we're really delighted. We have our first 2 episodes out now, and we're starting to get some feedback. The feedback that I like most is, boy, you guys are real. You talk about real life, and that's what we want to do. So I want to know, and I'm going to hit you on the surprise, what was your blood sugar today? And it's going to shock you.
Okay, so my blood sugar, I'm going to check my Dexcom right now. It's 112.
Oh, that's good.
With an arrow slanted up. But I had a smoothie right before this, so I think we're going to be in a little bit of a trouble in a little bit. But right now we're kind of coasting just at an upward slant.
So it's kind of like one of those Jack in the Boxes. You know, pop goes the weasel. When the sugar kicks in, you're going to be doing cartwheels.
Yeah, it's really nice. And then it randomly just spikes upwards. And I'm like, oh, there we go. What's your blood sugar?
Well, you know what? I think the one thing that's going to make our show good is that we're honest. I'm never going to sugarcoat it. You always look at TV and movies and everybody else's life works out. I don't know what my blood sugar is. I haven't taken my blood sugar in years. When I first got it as a Type 2, it was very intimidating. It was overwhelming. I think I took it every hour. Oh my gosh, am I going to die? Is my blood going to leak out? Is it going to go this 3,000?
That's all fair.
It's ignorance. It is ignorance. And that's why we're here, is to help educate people. And then in the last couple of years as a comedian, COVID shut down comedy. So I was on cruise ships. I had a day job after the cruise ships shut down.
Well, I'm going to send you a finger pricker.
Okay.
So you can check your blood sugar just for me.
I was using a butcher knife. Is that okay? Just kind of slice it off.
Maybe not. Maybe we go to something a little less
Get a little
dangerous.
baby food jar full, and I dunk it in there every quick. No, I think, that's another thing too, is the technique of doing that can be intimidating for people. But I haven't. The reason I admit that is, and I want to be honest, because I know people listening to us, they feel the same way. Oh my gosh, I haven't done it. I don't exercise. I eat poorly. And I think we're on both ends of the spectrum. You are Miss, oh, I'm a vegan and I work out and I'm young and beautiful and I have dimples and all the boys like me and everything's wonderful. And I'm happy for you. And if I had a daughter, I'd want one just like you because you're great.
Thank you.
But but that's on the good side. And there are people that go in your direction. I think we are all different as people because we just are. Before we're a little too deep in it, I want to make sure we get our sponsors in. Our sponsor today is the Diabetes app, a free social community app that brings together both Type 1 and Type 2 diabetics, plus their supporters. You find community resources and Sami and I on the Diabetes app.
Oh, yes. Catch us there.
Today, we're going to go in your direction, an endocrinologist. And now you had to deal with that. I dealt with one when I first started, and then that was it. They gave me my medicine, and I was off to the races by myself. Now you have to deal with it a lot more, so I'm going to let you take it over.
Okay, so this segment is basically, and topic is going to be about dating your endo.
Dating your endo?
And yes, this is the only time that you can cheat on your significant other. Sorry to my boyfriend, but yes, you have to date your endo.
He's not an endo, is he? Your boyfriend?
No. I'm just kidding too. Dating your endo, meaning you got to just find your right fit, and finding your endocrinologist is like a big deal with like dealing with diabetes. I think it's sometimes neglected because people just assume like, oh, this is the only one that's nearby. This is the only endocrinologist I can find. Which totally, if that's the only one you have, then, you got to make do with what you have. But I definitely think dating your endo is an actual thing. And I mean, I've had it for diabetes for 9 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I've gone through 3 endocrinologists. And I mean, I like my endo now. I've considered, cheating maybe to test out another one. But I've had multiple experiences. So I kind of just wanted to dive in because I'm sure people listening, you guys all have had multiple endocrinologists that either have been totally in your favor, biggest supporter, or also you feel like they kind of tear you down, unfortunately.
So the first one, you really have no choice, pretty much.
Yes. Yeah. I guess then technically I've had 4, technically.
Like an arranged marriage.
So, okay, starting out, I went to Children's Hospital when I got diagnosed. And my endo came in for 15 minutes and that was it. And I was like, oh, I thought I was going to have a long appointment. But because I was at a big hospital, obviously they have so many patients a day that there wasn't even the accessibility to have that one-on-one time, which I think is something I prioritize. And I think everybody prioritizes finding your endocrinologist differently. But that was a huge thing for me, was that quality one-on-one.
Did they keep you over? I mean, were you in the hospital or was it like an outpatient appointment?
No, I was just like there because that was like my first time and it was like a 6-hour pocket where we
Mhm.
were there the whole day. But I was literally with this nurse, Kylie, and she was awesome. And then my doctor came in for like, I'm not kidding, 20 minutes and then left. And I was like, what?
So you were disappointed.
Oh, disappointed, strike one, left. And I was like, screw this. I'm going to a, like concierge type doctor. So we found one and we were like, oh my gosh. And obviously I'm not gonna be naming names,
Mhm.
but he was very knowledgeable.
Dr. X.
X. Yes. Yeah, Dr. X. More like my XX. Yeah, he was
Mhm.
he was good, but I mean the man did not want to accept. Like I was like, Dr. XX, I'm gaining weight from insulin. I feel like my thyroid's off. Nope, it's not. Diabetes doesn't make you gain weight. Nope. Acted like I was an idiot. I'm like, dude, I appreciate all your knowledge here, but you're not even, didn't check out my eyes, didn't tell me that insulin could cause weight gain, couldn't tell me I was insulin resistant. It was just like a lost cause.
Dumb question. Do you think, and I'm not trying to be sexist, would it be easier for a woman to have a woman doctor or a man to have a man doctor? Or is it just the demeanor of the individual person?
Well, I think it depends. This doctor is very knowledgeable. He's actually very big into different with a specific company in diabetes.
Mhm.
And he had done diabetes camps. But for some reason, when I brought up stuff, it was almost like he, I don't know, is dealing with stress of his own thing or whatnot. But it was kind of literally just shot me down. Any problem I had, it would shot me down and then automatically wanted to resort to the pump. And I was like, I am not doing the pump. I don't like the pump.
Sure.
But it was just this constant, I would cry on my drive down and I was like, not for me. Sorry, bud. Maybe next time.
Wasn't a discussion. It was a monologue just at you.
Yes. And it was basically shame on you rather than let's figure it out together. So that was strike 2 for that guy. And I was like, you're out.
Out.
Goodbye, Mr. XX. So then moving on, I went to a doctor in Ventura and I loved her. She was great. Very went to the ends of the earth to help me out and figure out stuff. But the issue was the distance because I was driving and it wasn't reasonable when I was in college because I was trying to basically drive all the way there. But I was like, okay, it doesn't work. I have to study. I have to do this and that. And she was awesome, really great. But I also, she focused a lot actually with type 2s, which is really cool. But I kind of realized I needed to take in a holistic approach because we had tried every solution that was possible and my numbers were still high. So then, and I think you'll relate to this, I literally didn't go to an endo for I think a year and a half, which I know you said that you haven't really ever gone to one, right?
Well, I did when I first started. I was in the hospital. They were doing surgery on me, so I didn't have any place else to go. I had that gown with the butt flapping out. It was embarrassing. I didn't know I was going to be in the hospital. I was 9 days. Didn't expect it.
Ugh.
So the endocrinologist comes in. That's a long word. That's a Scrabble
That's a
word.
long time.
I had no idea what an endocrinologist was. And of course, as a performer, a comedian, I had the 100% deductible insurance company. I know we have people listening all over the world, and there's socialized medicine in other countries, but in America, you got to pay your own way. So that was a whole big deal. It was fear. I was scared. I talked to the endocrinologist, and I just sat there and listened. There's nothing I could do about it. So that's why I'm interested in your experience. So now, okay, so you got rid of this first one.
Yeah, so I got rid of the first one. I was like, okay, Children's Hospital, And then I was like, Dr. XX, And then I went to my Ventura doctor, and I was like, oh, great. The distance, though, and I think I'm going to have to take the holistic approach. Obviously, taking medication, everybody. I'm not saying don't take your medication. I'm just saying I had to figure out other stuff. And then I got recommended to another doctor who's my current doctor, and she's awesome and great. But again, just it's difficult because I am plant-based. So a lot of my approaches are different. Some of the advice, because my A1C was 6.6, which I'm happy with that right now. Obviously, there's always room for improvement. But the solution was oh, you're having a lot of lows at night. Maybe have a little snack with cheese and a cracker. And I was like, well, I'm plant-based. Oh, we'll just have the cheese. I'm like, okay, well, I'm plant-based, meaning I'm not going to eat the damn cheese.
So for the people listening, plant-based means you are vegan, you are vegetarian. I just want to clear it up for people that don't know listening.
Yes, sorry. Everything is from the ground.
So Big Macs aren't grown from the ground?
No, unfortunately, unless you get that Impossible Patty.
Just checking.
But that comes from the lab, so I can't help you out there.
All right.
So basically, I have the doctor now, and I love her too, but I feel when you deal with it for so long, a lot of times it's kind of okay, I don't know, this is going to sound bad, but you're do I really need an endo? Like, aren't I my biggest advocate? In a way, sometimes, because you're like, okay, I got it down. Like, I know what my issues are. I know I need to fix this. But I think it just really boils down to finding your groove with your doctor that you're dating. Seriously.
Well, it's like regular dating, though. Sometimes you click and sometimes you don't. And I think you have to be smart enough to know that this isn't working.
Oh,
And it's
totally.
time to find someone else. That can be kind of hard for some people.
Yeah. Yeah, honestly, it is. It parallels dating. Let's be honest here. It does. You go on a date and you're like, ugh, this sucks. Not going out with them again. Same thing. You go to your endo and you're like, oh my God, they told me the same thing I already know. And then some endos are like, well, I really think you should do the pump. And you're just like, holy beep. I don't want to do the pump anymore. Like, I'm over it.
I often say that to people. Holy beep.
That's my keeping it PG here.
No, I know. It's a family show.
I'm trying to be better. Beep, ish, those words. They all kind of.
Well, I think most of us know what the beeps and the issues mean.
Yeah, there we go.
So let's have a happy ending to this story. Did you find one that works for you that you have now?
Yes. And I do like her a lot. She is great. I think, though, this could be my own issue because I feel like I know a lot for my own body because I basically found the cure to fixing my insulin resistance on my own. And I hate to say that, but inevitably when you find something on your own and it's about your own body, you can't help it. But there's a part of you that's like, okay, it took 5 doctors and they still didn't know what the hell was going on with my body. And I did. So you're almost like, there's this little bit of like a, not know-it-all, but like in your head, you're like, I know my body more than anybody. So I really like my doctor, but I feel like sometimes I am actually like giving like new methods that I found, which is fine, but I kind of would like to be challenged, possibly in a nice way. But I have some tips.
It's like a relationship. Exactly.
Yeah, it really is.
Okay,
I
let's
mean,
hear some
it
tips.
really is. I like to be challenged. I want to be pushed to my utmost potential in both dating my boyfriend and my endo.
At some time, we want to meet your boyfriend too. We want to get the whole package, like a sitcom. We want to know all the characters.
Oh, he would love. I'm sure he would love nothing more. I'm being sarcastic. He would hate coming on a podcast.
Well, that's why we're here, to make people uncomfortable and awkward.
Oh, it's great. Yeah, it couldn't get any better.
Yes.
Also, Dobie, when is actually the last time you went to your endo?
Let's see. We're in America. Who was president last time I went to an endo? Let's see. Obama. It was Jimmy Carter. It was Abraham Lincoln. It's been a long time. I was diagnosed in 2011, so it was probably 2011.
George Washington?
George Washington. Yeah, the guy on the quarter. If you're not from America,
There
he's also
we
on the
go.
dollar bill.
2011?
Yeah, and after that, I did go for a little while, probably 6 months to a year. And I was very good. All the doctors said, boy, you do what we tell you. You exercise, you eat well, you drop some weight. And I did that out of fear. And then I started feeling better and I stopped going. A couple of reasons. I was on the road.
Yeah, I mean, I get it with the endo thing.
Yeah, but it's wrong. And I'm going to use this show to be the example for everybody listening that has been lax on it. And I'm not scolding. I'm using myself as an example. Well, if that guy can do it, the worst diet, the worst lifestyle on the road as a comedian. I didn't have insurance, poor, self-employed. So these are all 3 things that is a lot of people have it all over the world. Thousands, millions. So I will be the one. Exercise. I will go by your advice and the guests that we have. I will get my blood sugar down, my A1C. I have no idea what my A1C is. I didn't know what an A1C is until I got in there. Now I know what it is, but mine probably has 4 digits in it. It's probably high because I stopped. I lost the fear factor. I got cocky. I thought I felt better. And then I had a day job and I would get tired. Well, I'm going to exercise when I get home. I didn't exercise. Before this episode, I took a nice exercise walk. I took some vitamins. I had a healthy salad for breakfast, and it inspires me. So if you are inspiring me, hopefully you and I can inspire our listeners and viewers of the podcast. That's the idea.
1000%. I think I have a challenge for both me, you, and our listeners, I guess.
Okay. What would that be?
Well, I think a challenge. Well, first off, I think, Dobie, that me and you we should both make an appointment, like a telehealth appointment, and we can both go. And then we can share what our endo said.
And yours will be good. The little smiley faces like in school on the paper. I'll get the frowny face and I'll get a pin to my chest, take home to your parents because you are a loser. But losers can become winners.
No, let me tell you, my A1C was above 8 for I'm not kidding, 2-3 years, which is pretty gnarly. And I think people think because I was took all my insulin injections, I always finger pricked oh, this girl must have a good A1C. No. Let me tell you, it was above 8 for a long time. Because no freaking doctor nor myself could figure out why I was insulin resistant. But basically, where I was going with this whole point and this whole discussion was I have some tips for dating your endo.
Okay, let's hear the tips. Very important.
I also think that if you want to take them and parallel them to, dating in a relationship, by all means do so.
Okay, first I got one tip. Date mammals.
Yes.
Okay, yours are more important. Let's hear you. For finding an endo, here's Sami.
First one, guys. First tip for finding and dating your endocrinologist. Research the doctor. That's the first one. You want to make sure they actually have credentials that not are impressive, but you're like, oh, wow, they know what they're doing. They've had experience and they either have somebody related to them that's diabetic. They've dove into different research projects or different camps and whatnot, but like that they have that hands-on experience. Tip number 2, the endocrinologist actually knows the latest technology. That is the number one issue with some endos. They do not know the newest technology. And I'm sorry, but if you don't know the newest technology, even if somebody doesn't want to take it, there might be an issue there because it's important to know. Like the new Dexcom comes out. I hope to God my endocrinologist is going to be like, girlfriend, the G7 came out in the US,
You don't want any Amish endocrinologists in the old school.
Yeah.
All right. Tip number 3.
Okay. Tip number 3. You need to be open. Well, you do, but also your endo. So there needs to be like this communication there of they need to be a listener and listen to you too, specifically, and like understand your individualistic needs because your body is going to be different. Like my body is going to be different than a grown man who plays in an NFL football team. We are not going to need the same needs.
Correct.
So that's tip number 3. Number 4, your doctor does not rush you. I know I was only 12 years old, but when I went to Children's Hospital, like I think you're great, but like you got to give more time for the endos because that's painful that I only had 15 minutes. I mean, there's no way a 12-year-old who just gets diagnosed can feel comfortable. Like not a shot.
Good point. I see that.
And then tip number 5 is confidence and communication. And that kind of goes back to tip number 3 of being open-minded, active listener. But be confident in your endo and they should be confident in you. And that together could give you basically the ultimate potential to reach your basically top peak health.
Beautiful. Those tips will be available on our website. Thank you, Sami, for making those up. I learned something from that. I have to go to see an endo.
I hope it helped.
It does help right now. So we're going to be right back. We got a sponsorship. Again, we are sponsored today by the Diabetes app, a free social community app that brings together both type 1 and type 2 diabetics, plus their supporters, and find community and resources, Sami and I, at the Diabetes app. What is the question of the cast?
So the question today is, when is the last time you saw your endocrinologist? So I want you guys to share and answer this question on our Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter at justmytypepod_, and Facebook is justmytypepod. But again, question of the day, when is the last time you saw your endocrinologist? Please let us know.
Very good. Stay where you are. Thank you, Sami. We'll be right back. This is the Just My Type podcast. The Diabetes app is an online community platform that was created to help people living with diabetes find support and information in one spot.
And on the Diabetes app, you can join groups and connect with other people all over the world who are also living with diabetes. I mean, for me, whenever I have a bad day, I find myself scrolling through the mental wellness group just to reassure myself that I'm not alone.
The Diabetes app has a resource section where you can find articles, recipes, tips, and tricks for managing your diabetes. Download the Diabetes app today and connect with us right on the app.
DiaStrong is an online telehealth platform that connects you to medical and holistic professionals to help you manage your diabetes. Find registered dietitians, nutritionists, certified diabetes educators, and more without the hassle of having to go into a doctor's office.
Wait. You mean a lazy bum like me can have appointments right from my computer? Sign me up.
That's right, Dobie. And this week, our listeners can use promo code JMT25 for 25% off their first visit.
Yeah, don't try to cheat and go to JMT26 because you're not going to get 26. It's 25. Go to www.diastronghealth.com. That's www.diastronghealth.com. Welcome back. Just My Type podcast in cyberspace. We are glad you're here. She is the lovely and talented Sami Parker, type 1. I am the almost lovely, partially talented Dobie Maxwell, representing type 2. And I was writing down those tips, Sami. Those are very, very well done.
Wait, I'm glad that you're writing them down.
No, because this whole thing, I mean, this came out of the blue for me, and it's making me a better, healthy person. know what I'm saying? I love working with you and the whole team, the Pod Squad. We always like to shout out to them.
I like our Pod Squad.
They're absolutely fantastic. But to me, as a healthy person, as I get older, you don't realize I was your age once and perky and vivacious as I could be. And I could eat anything I wanted, whenever I wanted, and traveling across the country. I didn't think about it.
Totally.
You know, I drive for 15 hours, do a show, eat at truck stops and greasy foods and sugar. And now as you get older, it catches up with you. It sneaks up on you. And I would like to do a type 2 tangent. That is a feature that we want to come up with once in a while. And because there's type 1 issues, there's type 2 issues. Type 1, you have to take your medicine or you're going to be flat, you'll be in the hospital.
Yeah.
Type 2s, we can get away. And that's a bad thing because there's not people hovering over us. Keep it going. Type 2 tangent today, living in the groove. And it's hard to be in the groove in life. My grandpa told me as a kid, the hardest word to make your life good is balance.
Yeah.
It sounds good in theory. So does communism. It looks great on paper, but to pull it off in reality is a difficult thing to do. Balance. So you got your boyfriend, you hang out with your boyfriend all the time. Well, maybe your schoolwork falls by or your regular work.
Totally.
So when you focus on one thing, everything else gets lax. So I think as a type 2 living in the groove is tough. You don't have to always eat perfectly and exercise every single day, 7 days a week, including your birthday and holidays. You can have a dessert once in a while. You can have some sweets once in a while. Somebody told me that between Christmas and New Year's is when people diet. They're going over to their family, on the 24th, so they start dieting on the 21st.
Yeah.
Well, it's not going to help. It's not what you eat between Christmas and New Year's that counts. It's what you eat between New Year's and the following Christmas.
Yep.
360 days all the time. So living in the groove, I think, is one of the benefits that we can have on the show. Is every week we'll talk about something. It's like, okay, well, this week it's about A1C. Next week it's about diet. Next week it's about exercise. Next week it's a guest. Maybe we have a dietitian or an endocrinologist or somebody on that talks about that. And that's living in the groove and doing it as best you can, all you can, but without overthinking it and becoming OCD. Some people are OCD. Oh my God, I have to measure out every carbohydrate that I eat.
Yep.
And you drive yourself nuts. So your diabetes might be good, but your mental health is bad because you're absolutely a basket case.
Oh yeah. When do you feel like you kind of figured out which I know everybody's always figuring out life and balancing, but when do you feel like you really kind of learned what it really meant to balance?
When I first started, I was overbalanced the other way.
Yeah.
And then I slacked off a little bit, got off the insulin.
Okay.
And then I started going on cruise ships. I was working on the cruise ships and I said, well, I have to exercise. So I would go up on the top of the cruise ship and take laps at 4 o'clock in the morning when everybody else was in a drunken stupor.
Yeah.
And I was done performing and I would go there and I was really at peace with myself. And I thought, you know what? If it is to be, it's up to me.
I like that.
I think if everybody makes that choice, it's really true. And I think it's up to you, but there's also a team. You can't do it by yourself. So in the groove means not by yourself, not overboard one way or another. Yes, you can have a treat, but you also have to focus on you can't have treats all the time.
Yeah.
So sometimes at this point, I think I've let it go. I exercised today, but it's like, well, I was out of the groove for a long time. So that's what I'm saying. Don't have to be perfect. You just have to be better.
Totally.
I'm not a perfectionist. I'm an improvementist.
I like
So I want to just
that.
get better all the time. And you're already helping me, Sammy. No, you're being a really good inspiration. So hopefully that will carry over to the listeners. That's my point.
Yeah. I think too, for me at least, it was really hard for me when I first went plant-based because I was oil-free completely. And while I'm sure have a podcast episode on this, but I was really anal on certain things. And that's when I kind of realized I was balancing a lot of things, but I wasn't balancing that aspect. And that's when the perfectionism would come in and I ended up being more unhappy than when I learned how to actually balance life and realize okay, I'm human. I'm not going to have a life if I'm so perfectionist on certain things.
Now, did you choose this by yourself? Did your doctor? Did your parents? How did you choose to be? I would never choose to be a vegan, and maybe that's wrong.
I tried going vegan my junior year of high school, which is a whole nother story, but I basically it didn't work. And then I found out the Mastering Diabetes approach, which is oil-free, plant-based, high carbohydrate, low fat. Tried that. It was unreal, the results. And that was on my own, but I was very black and white with it. And my parents were honey, we think it's great, but you can't be so black and white. You gotta be a little gray. And I'd be no, I'm doing this forever. And they were oh my God. But they were very supportive. But needless to say, inevitably, they kind of let me figure that out, that it's not always gonna work to be black and white. And that's where I have found now a gray area. And there's difficulties with it, but overall, I'm more happy.
That's a lot of good information that we dispelled on today's podcast. Let's just let it rest because I don't think my brain can take anymore.
No, me either.
We're out of time. We really appreciate you listening to Just My Type podcast. We got to crawl before we walk, before we run, and we are excited that you're joining us. Please subscribe, tell your friends. If you don't like us, tell your enemies. We like some listeners. Sammy, how can people get a hold of us?
Okay, so again, share your question of the pod with us on IG, TikTok, Twitter, Facebook. It's Just My Type Pod _ for Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. And for Facebook, it's Just My Type Pod. Yeah, we just want you guys to follow, subscribe, share, discuss. We want to engage, entertain, and all of that jazz. So,
and what's the question again? Just in case somebody forgot, what's the question again of the pod?
Question is, when is the last time you saw your endo? And also, please rate and review. We want to hear from you guys and spread the word.
That's it, Sammy. We're out for this time. One more thing.
C'est la vie, baby.
This is the Just My Type podcast.